Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drama Surgery podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be covering a Korean drama or a Korean movie. Depends on where you watched it. But it's titled "The Time of Fever." And just before I start, I do have a bit of a cold, and you might be able to hear it in my voice. I apologize if I sound odd. But a cold has never stopped anyone from talking about their favorite dramas. So yeah, I am. But yeah, the way the international audience consumed this was in the form of a drama split into 6 parts. This aired on iQIYI. This is a Korean BL, and it is one I binged like so quickly that I was shocked by my speed. I mean, granted, it's not a long drama. It's only 6 episodes, and if you think about the fact that it's actually just a movie of like an hour, like 40 minutes, that's like 6 episodes, 21 minutes probably per episode, right? So it's not really, really long, right? But still, I breezed through this so quickly, and now I'm so invested in this like couple that in some not so distant future, I will be watching Unintentional Love Story, which is like the sequel to this, but technically Unintentional Love Story came out first. I think back in 2023. And so I think people love them so much in that story and that drama that they had this prequel made, because this is all based on I think like a webtoon or something. So I mean they have good source material. It wasn't like they were like creating things from thin air, right? And yeah, I mean this was so pleasant to watch, and I really want to talk about it. So here we are. Before I start and mention anything, I will give a quick disclaimer that I have, again, like I said, not watched Unintentional Love Story, which came before this, and you basically seen their life after the time of fever. So after their high school years, because the time of fever is based on their high school days, and so Unintentional Love Story is like following their life after that, and it's still a lot of the unresolved issues that they have in the time of fever that continues there. So a lot of people have an issue with the ending of the time of fever. I don't know why, because again it's a prequel, and given that you know that in Unintentional Love Story they are not together yet either, there's no reason why you would think they will be together in the time of fever. But I think it's just we're all just in love with them so much, and we want a happy ending for them. So that's a disclaimer that I have not watched Unintentional Love Story, but I have seen a lot of clips. Just the part I guess that features this two secondary couple, right? And so yeah, keep that in mind when I talk about this. But yeah, I would say that for me, I had no idea this drama was coming out. I mean, I'd seen TikToks about it, and like prior to it like releasing, I had seen the trailer, and it looks interesting. So like I bookmarked it, but like I had no preconceived like idea about this because I had not watched Unintentional Love Story. And so like a lot of people that were excited because they knew like where this was coming from, right? They had waited basically a whole year to see this to be brought to the like small screen, or I guess it's the big screen. They were like really, really hyped, right? And so I came into this like really, really blind. And I want to say that I'm kind of glad about it. Because this was just it was sensational to me that like I just love it so much, and I have to give props to like the actors in this because they really brought it. I can see why a show was made just for them, because I see the chemistry that they have. Because they were obviously so popular in Unintentional Love Story that like they had to make this prequel like just for them, right? So I see why that is, because this was like mind blowing. It was just so well done. The chemistry between the actors is like sizzling. It's fantastic, and you feel like you're intruding on a lot of moments, and it's just a lot of tropes and a lot of like plot that I like, and it was just this was so easy to watch. It was like it brought a smile to my face, even though unfortunately like the character, like one of the character, Dong Hee is going through a lot, but like I just love that like feeling, like the feelings they had for one another. It was just so clear to see, and it was just so beautiful. Now, before I drone on and on about this drama and why I love it so much, I want to give like a quick synopsis of this. Basically, the story follows two childhood friends, Goote, played by Won Taemin, and Kim Dong-hee, played by Do Woo, who have been friends since they were kids, right? their parents know each other, like mainly their moms know each other, and due to a reason that is kind of undisclosed at the beginning, Kim Dong-hee has to come and live with Go-hote in their like little town, right? And so for some reason when this starts, Go-hote himself is also not living in that town. I think his dad died and he was like out of the town for a while, right? So at the beginning of this, Kim Dong-hee actually is the one that's living in his house, and Go-hote is coming back, kind of reuniting with him, right? And they are going to school together and everything, right? Kim Dong-hee, I would say, is a character that as time reveals, we find out that he has come out as gay to his dad, and that's why, you know, he's had to come and live with Go-hote and his mom, right? Because his dad is like, you know, abusive about this. His dad is homophobic, and his dad is literally beating him up because of this. I get the sense as you're watching this that Go-hote doesn't have any idea, one, that Kim Dong-hee is gay. This is seemingly like a secret from him. The moms know, and you know, they are trying to like walk around the fact that his dad is this abusive person, but Go-hote actually has no idea. And so Go-hote's feelings from the very beginning, because from the very first episode you see that Go-hote likes Kim Dong-hee, right? And it's kind of removed from the fact that Kim Dong-hee has already come out to his dad and all that thing. So Go-hote is like walking in a different almost different reality than Kim Dong-hee to an extent, and his own like questions of his sexuality is not really a question, in that he's just so like enamored by Kim Dong-hee, and he just chases him, and you know, wants all this to do all these things with him and everything. Whereas for Kim Dong-hee, it's like a more serious conviction. It's something that I guess he felt he had to talk about with his family. And so that's, I would say, one thing that's different about the two characters, in like the way they approach their sexuality is very, very different. I feel like Go-hote is almost like a tiger that just wants to pounce, while Kim Dong-hee is more like intentional about everything. He's more of a thinker. Ironically, I would say that like he's that kind of person to be like, you know, would you love me if I was a bug kind of thing. But literally he does that in this drama. He like literally like makes that statement and like Go-hote has to be like, of course I'll love you still, or like I'll know it's you, and you know it won't matter and everything. And so it's funny because he's that kind of person. He's a thinker and he thinks too much, and even at some point Go-hote mentions is that you think too much, that's why you have a lot of issues and a lot of worries. So that's just me laying the groundwork about this drama. Like I mentioned from the very beginning, it's very obvious that Go-hote, you know, likes him. Is wants to stick with like Kim Dong-hee, his friend, forever. And Kim Dong-hee seems kind of like reluctant to an extent. He seems kind of cold. But very quickly you find out that he also has a crush on Go-hote, and so their crush is mutual. Right. The problem has never been how they feel. To an extent, it's really how Kim Dong-hee sees this and sees himself that ends up being the problem in their relationship. The main issue with his feelings for Go-hote and why he tries to suppress it stems from the fact that Go-hote's mom has been the one taking care of him since his dad became like the monster like he became, right? And so to an extent he feels indebted to Go-hote's mom, and you know, he feels, I feel like, that he might have some part or some role to play in the fact that Go-hote is like into him. I think he feels that like he turned Go-hote gay, or that's kind of what he's trying to avoid. Because I think to him, he feels that like Go-hote shouldn't like guys. The only reason why he likes guys is because Kim Dong-hee is gay, and somehow like just like it's a very stupid idea, of course, but you can see kind of where it's coming from. And I don't know, like I guess bi erasure, because I mean obviously Go-hote is to an extent, I think he's bi, right? He's not like gay, right? But again, for him, he feels that like Go-hote might like it's better for him to stick with girls kind of thing, right? And because ironically, like the same woman that is protecting him from his dad, right, I feel like is the one like causing additional trauma in a way, in that the way I read Go-hote's mom, I could tell that to an extent she wasn't okay with the fact that Go-hote liked Kim Dong-hee. Like she also felt like there was something wrong with it. Like it's one of those things that obviously like you're okay with so and so people until like they're in your backyard or they're your neighbors kind of thing, right? Until it's at your doorstep, right? So there's an episode where they show the epilogue, and this is the scene where Kim Dong-hee has come back after like being beat by his dad, right? And so he's crying, and you can see Go-hote is like visibly angry about this, like visibly upset about this, and the mom is watching them from like afar, right? And you see the look on her face is almost like fear, and it's almost like she did not like what she was seeing, right? Or she was shocked by what she was seeing. In the next episode, Gote's mom and Kim Dong-gi, go on a walk together, and they have this whole like conversation where Gote's mom tells him that like, there's nothing that he would do that, she will ever be upset by. But at the same time, the way she said it, you could tell that she was almost hinting about the fact that is this one thing with Kim Dong-gi that she does not want for her son. And so it's almost like she was saying that like, I can give you everything, but you can't have my son in this way, kind of thing, right? Like, you cannot be like this with my son, right? And I'm kind of begging you that like, from when you were younger, I've taken care of you, I've done all this. Like, this is almost like a way you repay me. Again, she's not saying all this, but like that is what I'm implying from that scene. It's almost like reverse psychology. She's saying that there's nothing you can do to ever upset me, blah blah blah, but like clearly she's saying that so that like he like pulls back and not like accepts Gohote to an extent, right? And that's how I read it, right? A lot of people read it differently, but maybe they're reading literally. But to me, when I connect how she looked in the epilogue of the like previous episode to that scene where they're like talking, I sense that that's what she meant, right? Like you have to like read between the lines, right? And so that's also where he mentions that he's going to Seoul, right? And I feel like he had to say that because I think that that's like his way of saying that like I understand what you're like saying, I understand kind of like the subtext of what you're saying, and like this is my response. I agree with you, I will not do this to you, kind of thing. So a lot of people disagree with that, but I feel like that's how like I read that. And so because I've seen clips of Unintentional Love Story, which is basically like later in their lives, there's a scene where he mentions the fact that he doesn't want to upset Gote's mom, right? And so I think that that was a valid read on my part. Like I feel like that's what that scene was supposed to do. And so a lot of the fear that Kim Dong-gi has is just like hurting this woman that has provided a lot for him. Again, I feel like it's sad because to an extent she's reinforcing kind of what his dad is doing, just in a like non-physical way, right? It's so that homophobia, right? And so like I get Kim Dong-gi and I understand his perspective, because if there's one person that has has been on your side, there's every tendency to want to like please that person. And I think for him that is what Gote's mom represents. So that's one thing I would say, that like this show is really good at like setting up the characters and their motives for why they do things. So even though Kim Dong-gi is not very responsive, even though he's cold, you can tell a lot of it stems from the fact that like his identity, his sexual identity is something that he's kind of careful with. It's something that means it's like monumental to him in the way that I feel like for Gote it's not, right? There's a scene also in Unintentional Love Story where one of the main characters asks him that like, are you sure it's not like a joke? It's literally like asking him about his feelings for Kim Dong-gi, that like, how are you sure it's not just a joke, that like it's real and everything. And Gote shuts it down very quickly. Like he's like, why would you think I'm that simple-minded, right? He likes Kim Dong-gi. This is a fact that he knows, right? So like I feel like their personality also plays into this. Gote feels less pressure about that identity, that sexual identity, as opposed to Kim Dong-gi, that I feel that for him this is something that defines who he is. And again, it could be because to an extent Gote is, I think, bi, and so his like issues on this is not as deep, right, as opposed to Kim Dong-gi, that I think is like just like gay, right? And so yeah, one thing that I would say really seals this drama for me, other than the acting of the like actors in this, is I think the commitment to this. Oftentimes with Korean BLs, more times than not, I sense and I don't know why you would ask in a BL if you're like uncomfortable. I don't get it, right? But I always sense a kind of like rejection of more risk scenes where like they have to kiss, they have to like touch and stuff like that. Typically a lot of like Korean dramas, you end up with like the dead fish kiss, that's what we call it, right? Where they just like lightly touch lips right? This is not the case in this drama, and I am thankful for that. Because I like when people can commit and do their job, and this too, like the two actors in this are committed, and I love that. I love it so much. There are two kissings in this, and both kissings are perfectly done. It showcases their characters in almost like to perfection, honestly, right? The first kissing they have is when they are in the nurse's office, and again, this is Gote being Gote and just being a menace, and he's basically asking Kim Dong-gi if he has ever kissed anyone before, right? This culminates in like Gote asking to be kissed because he wants to like know what it feels like and practice and everything. Of course, I mean he's just he's saying that because he wants to kiss his friend, right? But like the way that scene is done, this is where Kim Dong-gi is the one leading the kiss, right? And the way the kiss is done, the way he leads, you tell that there's a little like uncertainty to the kiss, right? He's not like forceful in any way. He's kind of like shaking and everything. Like so when Kim Dong-gi is leading, his character even comes true in that scene, right? And I think that scene, the one in Nurse's office, is so perfectly done just to showcase Kim Dong-gi's like mindset as well, right? When he's the one that has to like initiate, right? And I thought that was like a really well done scene. Also to the fact that that was the first time they are kissing, so I feel like there's a lot of nerves, right, between the two of them, right? But by the time the second kiss comes, it's a whole different ball game, especially for Gote, because in that second like kissing, right, the one I call the tangerine kissing, right, this is different because it's Gote that's leading this time, right? And Gote again, this boy is a menace, right? You can see the longing, you can see the kind of forceful nature of like Gote's feelings in that scene. You can see kind of again his character and how it's different from Kim Dong-gi, right? In this second kissing, he's like more again forceful, he's hungry, he's like the desire, you can see the desire in the kiss, right? And that kind of tracks because again we've kind of follow Gote in this drama, right? It's really him that like the camera I would say follows most of the time, right? And so we kind of have a good clear knowledge of how like down bad it is for Kim Dong-gi, right? And so when that kiss comes, you kind of feel all that desire, right? That inability to like stop. Like he wants everything and more, right? And so he puts all that energy into the kiss, right? And it's to the point where it becomes even too much for Kim Dong-gi. But even then, you still see Kim Dong-gi react to that kiss. You see him get lost in it, right? You see him like lose control to an extent, right? And have to gain back that control and push away Gote. So I have to say like those two kissings were so well done, and I really appreciate the actors for like putting in the effort. They just like did it so well, and it made this drama just like excellent, because that's really the like last recipe for a drama to be great. Like a drama can be good, but if it doesn't have that like chemistry, it doesn't have those kissings that like make me believe that like these two people are into each other, then like I don't buy it, you know? And sometimes they won't have kissings and people will be like, you know, it's not every time you need that and everything. And I agree to an extent, but at the same time it's a little unbelievable, especially when you're into somebody. Like when you're into somebody, you guys want to kiss, you want to do all these things with them, and so it makes no sense that that would not be included, right? So I like the fact that they included that in this in the way they did. This drama is just so good in a lot of ways. It has all my favorite tropes like childhood friends to lovers. Oh, it's beautiful. Again, it had me going to like look at Unintentional Love Story because I had to like know how they were there. And I will say it's a little jarring, right? In the sense that in Unintentional Love Story, Kim Dong-gi is almost a completely different character, right? And so if you're even thinking about the order to watch this, you should definitely watch Unintentional Love Story first, I think, because then when you watch Time of Fever, to an extent, you're not as maybe weirded out by how different the character is. Because when I was like looking at clips of Unintentional Love Stories, yeah, to an extent, you get a sense that Kim Dong-gi is like lying and he's putting on a front, because of all the things that he's gone through. So it's very like, you know, happy-go-lucky seemingly, right? Until moments where he's with Gote and, you know, he like switches and he's more moody and everything, right? But again, when you're watching Unintentional Love Story, you might think that Kim Dong-hee is this happy person. So when you see him in Time of Fever, he's basically a completely different character. He's more silent. Again, I told you, he thinks a lot, worries a lot, and it's just so completely different, right? So that's one thing that I did note. But I don't mind, because I think that because it's a prequel, it's okay. It's possible for a character, a person to like change over the years, especially if they have something to hide. And because of how unresolved their relationship still is, I'm sort of okay with like him doing his character in that show, because it like I guess makes a little sense that he might have developed that character because of the trauma from like when he was younger and being abused by his dad and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just one thing to mention as well. But yeah, the final thing I'll just say again, like just going back to Go Tae, I do love when like my male lead or like my main character is just so down bad. Go Tae is so down bad. He's so into Kim Dong-hee that like I just love to see that. Like I love when a character is just so obsessed and like like there's nothing you can do to like remove their like vision from that person. Like you cannot remove that person from their eyesight. Like they are like locked in on that one person and they do everything for that person. Like they breathe for that person, kind of thing. And Go Tae is basically that character. That said, Go Tae is still kind of dumb because how is it that in all these years he has not figured out that like his mom might be the issue? And then again, maybe I'm reading this like wrongly and his mom isn't a problem, but I swear to God that's what it is. Not that she's saying it, but there's some implied conversations that has gone on, right? And so I feel that like he needs to get with that. And maybe until his mom gives like that permission, like I feel like maybe Kim Dong-hee is not gonna give in. Right. And so if there's one thing I will say just to wrap up like this review, I would like to see a sequel. A sequel to Unintentional Love Story, which would be actually them like being together, right? Because I mean, Go Tae has suffered. My boy has suffered. Give him his happy ending. Also give Kim Dong-hee his happy ending, because Kim Dong-hee loves him so much to like Kim Dong-hee is just as obsessed, right? But he's like less willing to show it, right? And so like I just want them to have a happy ending, and hopefully if this does really well, we'll see that. But yeah, like I need to see this love between them come to fruition. I know at the end of like Unintentional Love Story they have that hug, and it seems that like maybe Kim Dong-hee is like warming up to him because he doesn't push him away. But still, like it's not enough. Give me more. They need to give me more. I need more. Do I like swim to Korea and like pay like the production companies like money? Oh god. Like I was talking to my brother about this like a while ago. That like if I had like $1 billion, a lot of people like when they talk about this, if you have $1 billion, what will you do with it? A lot of my friends are like, oh, I'll like try and like solve world hunger and stuff like that, blah blah blah. I'm like, I will basically go to like all my favorite like production like companies, or like all the people that have done like, some of my favorite works, and like basically give them money to like make the sequels of the stories I like. That's what I would do if I had $1 billion. Like I'll be like, oh, this story that has like still not aired a sequel, make one, and I'll give them money, even though it's like gonna be most likely a loss in business. I will still do it, right? And that's what I would do if I had $1 billion. But yeah, that's basically all I have in this episode. This was so much fun. Like I loved it so much, and this has just shot up to like my top five. I feel like my top five has ballooned. I feel like I'm like a top 20, but like there's so many good dramas I've aired this year that like I would say 2024 has been a fantastic time for like BL dramas, and it's also kind of my introduction like to a lot of BLs, in the sense that I wasn't watching a lot of them before. But yeah, I could probably go on and on, but I will stop there. This has been my review of The Time of Fever, a 2024 Korean drama that aired on iQIYI. If you've not watched it, you have to watch it. Like seriously, this is the best thing that has existed since sliced bread. But yeah, That's all I have for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a lovely, lovely day. I'll see you again next week. Bye.